I think Ghost Rock corn dogs. That's mesquite barbecue sauce, right? That's the correct sauce for that.
I mean,
Nice.
Mesquite, Carolina's good too.
Something strong. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. With that, welcome back. It has been way too long. Way too long. Like it's been 2 weeks since any of us were here. It's been 4 weeks since one of us was here. Some of us look visibly older than we were the last time Ryan was with us.
Meaning Ryan looks visibly older than the last time.
Happens to the best of us, dude. We have the original cast all in a place today. We are one of our newcomers, Willie, is not with us, but I'll explain that to you very shortly. But other than that, everybody's back. These wonderful series of storytellers sitting as they're whipping and popping and moving boxes and changing. I'm going to start at the bottom corner because he's in the right box.
No, put me back at Baptiste. I want to be Baptiste. Put me back.
Who is apparently today very, very tiny and standing in front of some really tall grass.
Ellie, I love hugs.
It's all going horribly wrong, people. Sky, save me.
Hi, it's me.
Hey.
I made it. Definitely
You made
wasn't
it.
late. I didn't. Yeah.
That had nothing to do to you. Nobody was going to say that, but thank you for hurling yourself on your own sword. Beside him in her proper place, whether she likes it or not, Miss Alice, played by Sarah.
I want to be Baptiste.
Oh, you're going to get in his head tonight. You don't have to be in his little space before that. At the far end of the upper row, dapper as always, Lucius, played by Lessamax. In the middle, our very own Hannah, playing Miss Ellie. And nearest to me, oh, look at that. There it is. All hair adjustments complete. Ryan, playing Baptiste, who has been off on a voyage of self-discovery, shall we say. Speaking of which, why doesn't everybody take their 3 chips for today? And I will fill people in on what happened before. I'd like to keep these really short. So, Alice, you worked yourself into a right lather, I'm going to say, over trying to figure out exactly who Baptiste is, what the hell this piece of metal is, and a whole bunch of other questions. You went to Dan Comfort for help, and it just added to the list of questions. It didn't solve anything. Miss Ellie, you spent most of that episode sort of trying to process a rather large chunk of information, and you thought your life was confusing before that day. You now have a whole family thing to deal with. Lucius, strangely enough, spent another entire episode tinkering in his room, which is what his mother used to call it.
And sulking.
Yes, his friends would come over and they'd say, "Can Lucius come out and play?" And his mother would say, "No, he's tinkering in his room." Jett, you saw a whole new side to Raven. A little more raw, sort of natural, a little wilder than what you had seen before. Willie was, let's use the word bemused. He was happily distracted and then sort of just generally bemused by all things that happened. And Baptiste was off dealing with his grief. And with that, let's go back down the rabbit hole to our very own poison paradise. We ended the last episode with a scream out in the streets. But because this is how fiction works, I'm going to back up time just a little bit. Miss Alice, you spent the whole night with this map and pieces of paper and notes and pins and red bits of string and yarn, and your hair is askew and you're second best dressed because that's all you got left is askew. You are disheveled in the true sense of the word, and you don't care. You've been up all night. I assume you've been downstairs a couple times, but getting coffees and just maybe whiskeys, whatever it takes to get you through.
Maybe it's whatever it takes. to spend the night going through everything.
Yes, you
trying
are,
to figure
and
out
you're
who
moving pins
in
and
the
whatnot.
hell
and
this guy is.
Yes. In the next room over, Jett, you forgot all about this. One good night's sleep and you forgot. You just crawled into bed tonight like nothing happened. It was a big day. You shared a pretty amazing story with someone who is probably now your friend. And you just crawled into bed and dropped off. And it hits. It's awful. You're floating in not an infinite space. It's only sort of 20 to 30 yards across. You're inside a nearly spherical structure composed of like black soap bubbles. That's perfect behind you. They all stuck together, and you're sort of in the middle of this structure, floating in deniance of all physics. There's no up, there's no down. And then there's a thud up against your feet. And you look down, and black on black, you're standing on a large rectangle with slightly rounded corners. It's got to be 15 feet across and 30 feet long. You have to move your eyes around to see it all, but it's completely black. The only light is a slight pale blue glow coming from underneath the card, and you can't see the surface. And there's a little psss above your head, and like a little tiny light, like a candle flame, floats down into the far end of the card, and it drops low enough for you to see. And at the very top, it's a tarot card. At the very top, XX 20. It drifts down slightly lower. And in that simple white outline on a black background, there is a skeletal angel, like the Cinco de Mayo with the line and the vertical lines for the teeth and the big empty eyes. But it's an angel. It's got wings, it's got a halo, and it's blowing a trumpet. And that light keeps drifting down towards you. You see a horizon. It's been flying, this angel. And on the ground below it is a graveyard. Again, these very simple white lines, just headstones with little crosses on top of them. And the light continues to come down, and in front of each one of the headstones, a hand juts out of the ground. The light gets all the way to the bottom. You have to turn around and look behind you. And across the bottom, it says, Judgment. And you hear Raven's voice. Reflect on what you've done. And the light up by the angel. Reckon on what you will do. The light is over the word judgment behind you. Because there will be. Above the hands, an awakening. And the light goes out. And the card disappears. And you're falling towards the bubbles. And as you hit them, they give. You're plummeting faster and faster. And you're in the sheriff's office. And you open your eyes. And Raven, in human form, is in the cell. With the keys and your hat. She giggles. Come and get him.
So is the cell open or closed?
The door of the cell is closed, and you know if it's closed, it's locked. It's a cell door. She's standing all the way at the back, like 15 feet away from the bars. Just giggling.
I
She
have
puts on your hat, and it's way too big, and it comes way down almost over her eyes. She goes, and it goes.
I have a weird feeling about this,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm just gonna try to walk straight through the bars. I'm just gonna like walk as though they're not even there and probably smack my face into it, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna try to walk through.
You make eye contact with her, and you focus, and she grins, and then the grin fades, and she looks very serious, and she goes, "Quick learner. Watch my eyes, watch my eyes, watch my eyes." And she just walks you in. And you feel a slight pressure, just the slightest pressure, and right through the bars. But it was exhausting. 5 wind, sort of exhausting.
What?
And she walks over and takes your hat off and puts it on your head, and then adjusts it again, and starts picking at the band. It's shiny. You don't need these. And she snaps her fingers, and the keys disappear and reappear on the desk out in the sheriff's office. You hear the clank as they hit the table. You turn to look at that. You look back, and she's gone.
What the hell have I become?
By the way, you're awake.
I guess I'm gonna just take it in stride and just try again to walk out and just try to mimic exactly what I just did, the same feeling and everything.
We use vigor as your main stat, right, for your magic?
I believe so.
Okay, give me a vigor roll, please. Just a straight vigor roll.
All right, let's do it.
6. Okay. You focus, and you try and imagine her eyes, and you walk towards your eyes keep going to and you just stop because the rail's right there. Oh, you back up and you walk at it. It's not gonna. Finally, you just and you just get mad at yourself, and you just forget everything you know, and you just look at the keys and walk through. And you walk all the way through, and as you're taking that last step, you hear clank, and your right hip stops moving forward. It's not that bad. Your rifle that was slung across your back is stuck on the other side of the bars. So you're now got the rifle bound across your chest, and the rifle's behind that on the other side of the bars, so you're kind of...
Is it a buckle?
All of you... Yeah, oh yeah, it's easy enough to get out of.
Okay.
Like there's a moment of panic where you're like, and you realize that's what it is, and you just kind of slide out from underneath it, and your rifle slides down. You walk over and get the keys. That's another 5 wind.
I'm tired.
And yeah, you have to undo the strap to take it off from around the rails to get your rifle back out, and then do it back up. And you kind of do that thing where you adjust it a couple times to make it feel right, to get it back where it was, and then get it back slung over your shoulder. But it's all what you're really doing is processing, but you're trying to make everything right again.
Yeah, I don't know what I am anymore.
So yeah, the short version of this, what you know right now is that essentially you can become insubstantial. You can walk through walls. At the level you have of it, now you get the feeling that if you got better at this, it would be less exhausting and you'd be able to do it for longer. But right now, you have 5 wind per round.
That seems about right.
I'll put it on your sheet after tonight. It's an ability called Ghost.
You've always been insubstantial to me.
I knew.
So that's where you are standing. Just as you grab the keys, you hear that yell out in the street. You, Alice, and Ellie, and Lucius all hear it. But let's quickly jump Baptiste. The last period of time is a bit of a blur.
Okay.
You're not sure how long you've been gone. You've done this before at this time of year. But this one, with that girl, with the same name, it was tough. You're making your way back, and you kind of come back to yourself out of this fugue state on the road, knowing one thing for certain. The badge is gone. It's been part of you.
Fuck, I hate Alice right now.
Baptiste takes a second, and he lets all of the glamours fall because he's by himself.
Yep.
And concentrates on the connection with where it is. And after that, like 4 hours, he puts the glamour back up and gets on Rebecca and rides back towards paradise. Pushing as hard as he knows Rebecca can actually ride.
Okay, you are flying. You, the image that's the one thing that kind of keeps coming back to your head is you figure out very quickly, you know where it is. I mean, that's a whole different thing. But you realize very quickly that it's been cut out. You haven't lost it. It was taken. Someone cut your jackets and took it out.
Do I know only one of the people who've touched it, or do I know both?
3 people have touched it, actually. Ellie, Alice, and Dan Comfort.
Okay.
So yeah, you would know that the 3 of them have touched it, and that where it currently is, yeah, and that it was taken.
Okay. He may misjudge it, but he will try to rein Rebecca in to a normal gallop once he hits town.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, you are flying through the trees at this point, heading back towards paradise and back to your badge. So that leaves us with Lucius, Alice, and Ellie. You guys are all, Alice, you're in your room up all night. Lucius, you tinkered all day yesterday and then crashed into a deep sleep. Miss Ellie, if I remember correctly, you were doing your best not to go to sleep, so you didn't dream about didn't have to deal with anything in a subconscious fashion because you'd rather just crush it all down emotionally and consciously. So, yeah, okay. Just making sure I got everybody's correct.
The healthy way to deal with things.
Sure, absolutely. For a while. And then you explode.
Is Ellie Irish?
I don't see a bottle.
Yeah, I'm not drinking it.
I'm allowed to make that joke. I'm Irish. Actually, I'm really lucky. My first, middle, and last name are actually, if you know any history at all, tell you the three races that I am made up of. So yeah, English, Irish, and French. Anyway, the 3 of you hear this. So yeah, Ellie, you were just sort of in a fitful daze. Lucius, you were out cold. And Alice, you were pulled out of right in the middle of moving another pin.
Yeah.
It was a male scream. Anybody with military experience, Baptiste, you weren't quite here, but Jett, you would have heard this too, and you've heard enough. This is a man who has just woken up in terrible pain, like someone who's been injured and then woke up and screamed in agony. And it's coming from outside on the main street.
Well, I'll rush towards the sound when I hear it, and I'm gonna pull out my pistol as I go.
Yeah, I'm out the door.
I'll get up as well. Unless I'm too tired.
You gonna run out in your robe again?
Well, I still don't have a
In his
suit,
drawers.
actually. I still don't have a suit, actually. By the way. I'm... So...
Out here.
I feel like Alice would, when she kind of hears it and kind of like, even though she wasn't sleeping, kind of like wakes up, she would kind of be like, wait, what? And then kind of start to come to out of this whatever
Yeah.
state she was in
Mm-hmm.
and start to realize
kinda-
the state that she's in.
Yeah, you stumble back and knock a coffee mug and a half a shot of whiskey off the
Yeah.
table as you bang into it.
Yeah.
You look down, your hair goes.
Yeah.
You have to.
Alice is taking the time to process and get herself right.
So there will be a brief delay.
I'll just quickly grab whatever I can to wear, just my work.
Lucius pants in a shirt and out the
Yeah.
door. Okay.
Yeah.
And Miss Ellie?
With shovel.
With
with
shovel.
shovel.
Shovel side.
You're not forgetting me this time, Kevin.
I was already downstairs, just like cleaning. So I just, as
Getting
soon
ready
as I hear it,
yeah.
I just immediately just pull out the pistol and run.
Run. Okay. Perfect. So you get to the front door first, Ellie. It's just a swing of doors and you shove through them. And you're not in paradise anymore. You take one step and another because you were already moving forward. You're standing in the middle of a green field. Waist-high grass. You look around and this isn't anything like anywhere you've been before. It's rolling hills. The fence posts aren't wood, they're rock walls. They've got moss halfway up the sides of them. They've been here for hundreds of years. Wherever you are, this is not anywhere remotely close to home. And there's a little hill in front of you in this beautiful field. And this little house with a little bit of smoke coming out of the chimney. Literally a white picket fence around it, rose bushes, a little trail. You hear the sounds of children playing, at least two.
From the house?
Yep. You turn behind you, there's no doors. You're in the middle of a field.
Wait, there's no doors from where I just came from.
Nope.
Oh, good.
And as you turn back, a man walks out of the front door of the house and starts walking towards you. He's middle-aged. Sort of heavy-set, balding, big smile on his face. Looks vaguely familiar. And he looks more familiar. And for a second you think it's your father. But it's not, he's dead. And he grins at you. And he says, "You don't recognize your own brother, Ellie?" It's Carson. He's at least 40, 45 maybe. I brought you here. And he was going to come in to greet you like a brother, and he sees this look on your face and he just stops about 10 steps away.
How? My brother's younger than me.
"Welcome to merry old England, miss." And he kind of grins and laughs and he says, "I got sent back in time. Like 20 years. And here, I was going to come back, but then I met Esther and kind of, you gotta meet her and the kids. And oh, Ellie, it's good to see you. It's been 20 years for me. You look great.
You look happy.
Come on. Meet the kids. And he is like the happiest dad you've ever seen. Up the hill into this perfectly maintained little yard. He introduces you to the little boy. He says, that's Joe. His mother insists you call him Joseph. And that's the younger one. And there's an older girl, and he turns to introduce her, and he stops and just freezes. That's Ellie.
It's wonderful to meet you, Ellie.
And she just looks up at you with a big smile. She's probably 10 or 11. You get the idea she doesn't understand what's going on, but she almost understands. She understands somehow that you're family. And she, very shy as she is, she reaches out and then she doesn't know whether she should shake your hand or hug you or what.
I kneel in front of her and just pull her close and probably hug her a little harder than someone who first met someone.
Yep. And you're doing that, and you look up, and Carson is just weeping. I meant to come back, but
I'm glad you didn't. There's nothing to come back to. You have Carson, they're beautiful.
And he kind of looks at her, he says, I'm getting fat. And he's not wrong. He's getting kind of dad fat.
You were always so lazy. You surprised.
And he stops for a second, looks very serious, and he sends the kids in the house. And he says, I thought you were going to hate me. It took 20 years to work up the guts to tell you I'm not coming back.
Carson, I've had a lot of anger in my life. I could never be mad at you. Not when you do stupid things and Dad would kick the shit out of me for it. I was never mad at you.
I didn't kill him. You know that, right?
I know. I never thought you did. Not my beautiful little brother.
And he's just like ear to ear grin and tears at the same time. He says, come on in, let's have dinner. I can put you back whenever we're done.
I'd like that.
And he invites you inside to this perfect little house, and you meet his wonderful spouse, and she immediately likes you, and the kids like you, and by the end of the night, they're calling you Auntie Ellie. And you have probably, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but probably the best family night of your life with your brothers, your little brother's family. And when you're done, he walks you back outside, and it's dark. The stars are out. He says, once I send you back, I can't bring you here again.
Do you have to send me back?
I don't think this isn't quite your now. It's 1899 here.
Yeah, it never can be that simple, can it? Does a version of you exist in my now?
Me 22 years ago. Wow. We were here, not in this house. Yeah, we would have been here about 3 years. Just about. No, not yet. It was another 5 before we had Ellie.
Oh, you stupid little brother. I've looked all around the US for you and you were in England.
I know, I should have come home.
No, you shouldn't have. What was there to go back to? You were a murderer, so that everybody thought. Dad was dead, and I'm not gonna say I'm exactly the sister you remember.
You said people thought I was a murderer. You know what I really do?
What's that?
I'm a doctor.
Of course you are. Smart little bastard.
And he shrugs, and for just a second, he's 12. Like, you saw that shrug when he took the last cookie, and you busted him one second after he ate the last of it. It's just like guilty as charged. Yeah. Come visit. I won't remember this, because it hasn't happened yet.
Oh, you sound like my friend. I can't make 2 cents of what he ever says either. But I will. Honestly, where I am right now, I'm stuck in one crisis after another, but I swear I will come and find you.
You were born to deal with crisis, sis. Been doing it since you were 3. You were doing it since before I was born. It's who you are. Every time I was in shit, who saved me? My big sister.
It's my job.
I didn't even grow up until after you were gone, until after I was here, until all this.
Carson, what happened with you and Charlie?
And it takes him about 3 tries to get started. And he says, I came down the stairs with Dad's sword. I was going to kill him. And Charlie stopped me. The only way he could. He promised he'd do it. He said he had a way out. He said he had a plan. He showed me the scroll. He showed me the magic. He said he didn't want me to soil myself. He wouldn't even let me watch, and at the time that pissed me off. But I'm glad he didn't. I don't need to see that. Nobody needs to see that.
I'm glad you didn't too. Carson, I'm so sorry I left.
And he just bundles you. It's the only thing you could have done. The only thing you could have done. He would have killed you. It would have made everything that we did and were going to do pointless. You had to escape.
I left you with a monster. How can you say that?
He was dead by the time you were gone. never hurt me. Not the way he hurt you.
Thank God.
Go solve all the problems, Elle. Then come back and see me.
I promise.
And he hands you just a little picture. It's like 3 inches square. And when you look at it, it looks like a 3-inch cube. And when you turn it from side to side, there's your brother and his wife sitting at a picnic table, and the 2 kids run through from side to side.
Is technology common now?
Yeah, there's a really rich American woman over here.
She happened to go by the name of Alice?
Don't think so. No. Harrington, is it? I think it's Harrington.
Oh, well. Little brother, I have a couple stories to tell you when I find you. Let me tell you that.
Just come back and tell those stories to all of us.
I'll do my best.
And he actually, I mean, he's a 45-year-old man now, even though he's your little brother, and he reaches up and just like scruffs your hair.
I smack him.
As he lets you, oh, sorry. Kids, long time.
I just kind of like beckon him a little bit closer, and as soon as he like kneels down a bit, I put him in a headlock and noogie him.
And he laughs and pretends to fight he's a full grown ass man. He could pull away if he wanted to, but he lets you haul him around. And when he comes up, he's grinning again, and there's just a hint of tears in his eyes.
You may have grays now, little brother, but don't you forget who's older.
I gotta go explain who you are to my wife.
Have fun with that one.
I've got some dandelion wine I've been meaning to try. I think it might help.
Yeah, you'll probably need a couple of those.
Take care, sister. And I'm so sorry.
Don't be cursing. You take care of them.
And he turns away and sticks his fingers in his mouth and lets loose a great big whistle, and 3 big dogs come running in from various parts of the field and sort of jump over the picket fence and sort of start almost patrolling the yard. And he walks you to the gate like you're, like he's walking you to the carriage sort of thing, and steps outside and looks at you and says, I won't say goodbye. But until next time.
And I just I'd like throw myself on him and just hold him as tightly as I can.
Yeah, and he gives you a great big hug, and through it all you hear him say, I love you too, sis. And he just kind of separates you a little bit and turns you away, and just as gently as can possibly be, and boom. I'll be nice to you. You're back in your room. I'm not going to have you slap out into the middle of the street after that. So you're back in your room and you hear the scream again. Or downstairs, sorry. Yeah. You were by yourself in the dining room.
Okay, I do take a second.
Oh, yeah. And Lucius comes pounding down the stairs. Boom, 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 boom. Shovel in hand.
When I see him, that kind of like snaps me out of it, and I grab my pistol and run towards the scream again.
Okay. So the 2 of you step out in the street. Jett, I'm assuming you step out from the sheriff's office as well on the other side of the road. Miss Alice, a couple seconds later, I mean, you're good at this. You're just like, tuck it, pin it, and that's all good.
She's got
And
the routine down.
Yeah. And out the door into the street. And in the distance, you hear the pounding of hooves. And you look and see the mare Rebecca tearing around the corner and into town with Baptiste astride, riding like the wind. Miss Alice, that may or may not cause you consternation on various levels.
Alice, when she sees him.
That's at that end of the street. Here comes Baptiste. To this end of the street, down by the church, number 1 on the map, standing just in front of the church right there is the Father Dean, the huge behemoth that I believe I described as Hagrid looking.
Yep.
And I mean the character, not Hagrid, like,
yeah.
He is standing about 20 feet outside the front of the church with his arms hanging down beside him, and he is rent as if by giant claws. He's bleeding profusely. Part of his face is ripped open. You can see a bit of jawbone. One arm is clearly broken, and he's just shrieking in agony.
I feel like I should do it. I don't know what's worse for Alice right now. I feel like I need to do some kind of roll to see if I do anything.
Okay.
Because I don't like.
How would Alice talk her way out of this? Like, to herself? Would she use her intelligence? Would she try and logic bomb this, or just try and prioritize? What would you?
I feel like
it's going to be quite difficult because you're tired. You've been up all night.
Yeah, everything she does as far as what do I do now is based on, I mean, she's a journalist, like,
yep.
and a photographer. So everything she does is kind of based on kind of like, okay,
give me a professional journalism role and see if you can snap into that mindset.
Let's see. So I don't have professional journalism specific. I've got photography, and then I just have photography under.
Yeah, give me photography then. So see if you can snap into that sort of third person
that
mindset where you're looking for
mindset.
The shot. Yeah. Which one would I photograph? Give me that. We'll see what we get.
It's an 11.
Okay. You are not frozen, but I'm not going to make the decision for you as to which one's more important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have just enough time.
I was trying to figure out if she would be frozen, because it's like,
Yep. Bad and worse.
Yeah.
Frying pan fire.
like my fault, not my fault. My fault, not my fault. Like,
Baptiste is like I keep using this phrase because I love it, like a force of nature coming down the road. There's just something elemental and driven about him.
It's gotta be Baptiste. She's just gonna.
The other three? You turn towards Baptiste as he's charging down the road towards you. The other three. Jett, you step out of the sheriff's office. Huh? 10 wind. This happened right immediately after that.
And I see this dude who's seriously hurt at the other end of the street.
This massive individual that just looks like something with huge claws just rent him limb from limb almost.
Do we see anything around him?
There is nothing immediately around. Nothing is currently attacking him. And given the relatively small amount of blood around him and behind him, it looks like he woke up in the church in that state and then stumbled out into the street and screamed.
As soon as I get to him, can I do a heal check or something?
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, you can do give me a medicine, because you've got knowledge medicine, right? Yeah,
correct.
I'm glad you did that, because I was just about to stab myself running down the street.
No, please don't.
Yes, please don't.
That's gonna work very well with the vicar.
Perform in medicine.
You.
He has been. That's a really good roll. He has been torn by massive claws. Like not a bear, not a cougar. We're talking something with claws like that long.
Jeez.
Also and like a couple big rakes. Like he's taken a couple of these. He should not be standing from the amount of damage he's taken. There's lots of blood. He's alive. It's not like he's dead or undead or anything like that. He's just wobbling back and forth. The other thing that's weird is some of the claw prints that go over one shoulder and down his arm change direction in an odd way. That doesn't look like if you just reach out with claws and pulled, you get straight lines, right? These don't. They go down and then they kind of do this sort of curve and then they go down again.
Interesting. I'm gonna ask him what happened as I tried to tend to his wounds.
And he kind of snaps, looks down at you. I don't know. I just woke up like this. Oh.
You said he came out of the church like that?
Yeah.
All right, I'm just kind of almost gonna like gesture to Jett as if like, come with me. And then I'm just gonna like,
to the church.
with my like gun in hand, I'm gonna like throw the doors of the church open.
Okay. Jett?
Yeah, I guess I just see that and pull out my shotgun and kind of look down and nod at Lucius, and I'm like, "You got him?"
Got him.
Yeah.
Okay.
This man is standing still. I mean, he is, he shouldn't even be, but he is still, I mean, he's a huge human being. The two of you kick open the doors to the church and step in, and about 10 feet inside, just in the aisle, there's a large puddle of blood. Somebody bled a lot here. And then there's footprints leading from it outside to where he is. So it looks like him. It looks like this is where he passed out, probably. Bled for a period of time, woke up, and then came back outside.
But there's no blood elsewhere, so that means that he started bleeding there.
It looks for all the world like he came in from outside, collapsed, bled for a while, woke up, and walked back outside. The fight happened somewhere else. Meanwhile, outside, Lucius, he's jabbering on. He's bits of marriage ceremonies, bits of death ceremonies, just little bits and pieces of information that don't seem to make a lot of sense. And every time you try and look him in the eyes, he's looking away.
I give him like a little hey, look at me. Focus.
And his eyes come up at you. He looks hunted.
Okay, we're gonna treat your wounds, all right? And I want you to go in a safe place, all right?
Safe.
Do you have somewhere else that you can go? Maybe the bar, okay? Or
He looks back at the church. No. And he just starts to crouch.
easy there, okay. Will you let me tend to your wounds?
And he's still kind of leaning away from you like he doesn't want to be touched.
Okay, buddy. I can't force you, but I highly recommend that you get yourself to safety. Go to the local inn or a bar somewhere, okay?
Safety. Yes. And he crouches the rest of the way down and springs. And as he does so, he transforms in front of your eyes. He jumps as a huge man. He lands as a grizzly bear 20 feet away and bolts past the church and into the trees.
Yeah, it's
The claw marks make sense now. Now they're in a straight line across his shoulder and down his arm. That's, as you watch him run into the trees, that's the form he was in when he got in the fight.
Yeah, I run instantly in the church and barricade the door with my scythe out.
That's not what I was expecting you to say, but okay.
Nope. I'm not doing this alone. Sorry.
Did you see something?
English, Lucius?
Breathe.
The
I have my pistol like pointed at the door. Did you see what attacked him?
attacked him. I think I found what attacked somebody else. I found the attacker.
What?
The priest. He turned into a fucking bear.
I'm
When you
not as skeptical as I.
Gilberto Army!
It's like I want to be skeptical, but then again, the lady I talk to all the time turns into a bird, so I literally cannot.
Oh, come on. We have seen stranger things. Freaking giant-ass wolves. Is this really unlikely?
No, I believe you, partner. I'm just trying to figure out why. Is he coming in here? Why are you barricading the door? Because it sounds like he might be the problem.
Okay, well, I think you ran the other way, but, didn't want to take that risk. So maybe we should go after him.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, at the other end of the street,
Meanwhile,
look at these faces. Look at these faces over here.
as soon as
look at Ryan and Sarah's
I hate
faces.
Alice. Ryan, I'm so sorry. As soon as they turn tail and run, Alice, watching Baptiste the whole time, making sure he sees her, she ducks into an alley, and the badge is like wrapped. It's like wrapped in like 3 layers of like stuff because she doesn't want to fucking touch it again.
Yep.
And she's just holding it in her hand, and she's just shaking like a leaf on a tree.
Baptiste leans down in his saddle with his hand out.
And she doesn't say anything. She doesn't look you in the eyes. And the only words that she can muster, she just says, I didn't know, and I was trapped in it, and then you were gone before I could.
He grabs it in the middle of all that.
And she was she was.
The badge relaxes into your hand.
And again, it's wrapped. It's like triple wrapped in like.
And he keeps riding towards the church. Because I'm guessing that's the first half of the first quarter of the street.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you slow down just long enough for that.
Maybe about the time that the preacher is gibbering, that happens.
Exactly. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
as you're moving along, the badge is in your hand again, wrapped in 3 layers of lady's handkerchief.
Yeah, it goes into a pocket, and as he places it in a vest pocket, he pulls his rifle from the holster in the saddle because he doesn't know what this preacher is yet.
Yep. And at that point is when he starts to crouch the first time, when he's looking just terrified at this point. And then as you take those last few steps and thunk, 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 the horse stops and you turn yourself sideways to get a better bearing, is when he turns into the bear and bolts.
And
Now, does Baptiste
You see a bear, you run. Okay, I'm sorry.
does Baptiste recognize anything that's happening, or is this completely new to him?
You saw this in the war. There was a group of lichen-minded individuals. Oh, I'm so sorry. That was such a bad dad
Well,
joke.
good night, everybody.
It was a group of ursanthropes and lycanthropes and other thropes that they tried to train to be scouts and soldiers, but they're just inherently too chaotic. Was the military's experience. But yes, you understand what you see. It's an ursanthrope.
Okay.
It's a man who can turn into a bear.
I should say, if that's the timing of it too, Alice wouldn't see it because after Baptiste takes the badge, she takes a moment in the alley to she's crying and she takes a moment to
I have a question for Miss Alice. Did she think there was any chance that he would kill her for that badge.
Yeah, she thought she was dead.
Okay, I just wanted to know.
Because she's seen some shit.
So yeah, he does that with the badge, and you just lean back against the wall and just like, who cares about the big preacher at the end of the street? I don't care anymore. I almost peed right in my dress right
and
here.
And she's torn. She's torn right now between helping and he's just gonna kill me later. He doesn't have time right now.
Right. Yeah. So Baptiste, you have an opportunity here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The bear is in range, so to speak.
Did I see the wounds?
Yes, before and after.
Were they defensive wounds, or was he the attacker, and these are the wounds he received during the attack?
This appears to have been a fight. This was like apex predators claiming space, sort of a fight.
But this is the bumbling idiot preacher that I met.
The one that can't read. He only remembers all the ceremonies because he has a good memory, but he can't actually read. This is the one that didn't know how to help you in the graveyard. Was
I able to assess that on the ride, or did it take me?
By the time you got to that point where he changes, you will have put all that together. Yeah.
Then my second question is:
extremely experienced human being. So.
On the main drag of the town, there's the church.
Yep.
There's the bank. There is the
the remains of the bank that's blown up.
There's the remains of the bank, and then there's the let's see, saloon number 1.
Yep.
And the survey office. What is the most intact, defensible building in town?
From where you are riding up that road, it would certainly be the sheriff's office where Jett is. I know it says Miners Bank.
Miners Bank.
Sheriff's office.
Okay. Then.
That's about. 7 is the sheriff's office. Where is that?
Marshal's office is not on the map anymore.
Oh, I think we blew it up. Okay, yeah.
So 4, 5, 6, 11, 12.
Yeah. So, for the purposes of this, the sheriff has taken over the Miners Bank, the remains of the Miners Bank.
Okay.
Whoops.
Then, Baptiste sort of lands in front of the church and hops off of Rebecca, his horse.
Yep.
And sort of with his back and elbow knocks open the doors of it.
Yep.
And yells loud enough for everyone inside, but also anybody on the street around them for the next couple of blocks, yells to grab what you can and head to the bank. We need to buckle down. And is standing defensively. He's not protecting himself from the people inside. He's protecting them so they can run to the bank.
Using the gotcha. Yeah. So you're just making sure the bear doesn't come back, essentially.
Yep.
Gotcha. The rest of you, the 3 of you inside the bank. Let's go back or inside the church. You hear that yell outside. Lucius is blithering on about how this guy turned into a bear and ran into the wilderness.
Oh, I think that's our cue.
All right.
Very Jett answer.
Way to yes and.
Jett and his other character Penn, between the two of them, they have been exhausted for like the last 12 episodes of gameplay that he's been in. So yeah, the 3 of you are inside the church. There's windows. I mean, you can see what's going on outside. You can see everybody but Miss Alice.
I mean, I'll just exit and just kind of look at Baptiste and say, I'm presuming you know something we don't?
It's just a nod. It's very cold not unfriendly, but just terse.
Let me guess. The bear?
I think that's good.
That's the response.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
I'm just looking to see if I catch a glimpse of where it went.
right into these trees right behind the church. So on the larger scale map, let's say a map of the whole of Paradise Valley,
Ooh.
with the train wreck in place, it headed north, up this way, more or less along the side of the lake. So
I tell Baptiste that the pastor's the bear.
anybody who thinks their character might think of this at the moment, give me what would it be? Give me a home county roll, but we're going to count. You guys have been here long enough. It's been like 5 days. This is going to be your home county. So a home county roll of 2. So whatever your academia or whatever your knowledge is, 2 of that. Because everybody has home county.
What would we be thinking?
Keep all or keep one?
This is a keep 1. Everything's keep 1 except for damage.
Yeah, I keep forgetting.
Just
Good.
a home.
It's been like a
county
month since you played.
Right.
Sorry, Anna.
roll? Just a home county roll.
Yep, just a straight home county roll.
I'm gonna try to.
Nope.
Yeah.
Alice is
I'm busy.
Alice is
Not there. Yeah, this wouldn't make any sense to have Alice do it. Really,
Alice is still hiding in an alley.
Lucius.
Cool.
Yeah. So Lucius and Jett, you guys remember, this makes sense. The 2 of you remember being told that there was the remains or the ruins of a church up at the head of the lake. In fact, you guys walked past it when you went to the camp where the crazy wolves had eaten the miners. And with the 21, you kind of make that connection. Priest, church, maybe.
You thinking what I'm thinking, Jett?
Probably, but you should say it out loud just so I can make sure.
That is the sentence of a man who has not figured something out.
I think he might be at the old abandoned church, like across from the lake. Is that what you said, Kevin?
It's right up at the top of the lake. You guys are on the map now, right? Where you can see the whole valley.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So number 4 is essentially the church. It's basically right where the stream comes into the lake.
Okay, so I would, yeah, at the top of the lake, and I point in the direction.
I reckon that makes sense.
Good as guess as any.
So you guys are sort of standing around on the street. Baptiste is still like tracking the wood line, waiting for something to come out. Miss Alice, you are all a-cowering in an
Hello.
alley, and you hear your mother's voice say, "Actions unbecoming of a lady."
Alice is like, shut up, Mom. And then she takes a second and she's like, okay, and she like dries the tears. Then she draws her gun and she's kind of like, if it kills me, it kills me. I don't know. And just walks
You kind
over.
of, as you step around the corner and all of this sort of hits you, there's 2 little flashbacks. They're flashbacks. There's nothing magical about this. You don't have to resist this at all. The first one is when it's a reaction to that voice that said that you were being unladylike. It's just a flicker of remembrance of stabbing that guy in the throat and watching him die right in front of you. And then there's another flicker of a much, much older memory. And you remember being at a party and your mother, you were probably only 6 or 7. and your mother was standing around, and the gentleman was talking to her, and you could tell she didn't like him. And he reached out and touched her, and then he yelped and jumped away. And you saw her put a hat pin back into her hat.
Go, Mom.
You kind of stand up a little straighter and say, okay, I got this, and then continue down the street. You're walking up behind this group of the four of them now.
And she's gun drawn
Mm-hmm.
and trying to put on like as if nothing ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't speak for once. She doesn't speak to she doesn't speak in general terms. She targets someone, and that person's going to be Ellie in this because she doesn't want to talk to Baptiste. She doesn't want Baptiste to fucking think that she's even talking to him. And things are edgy with Jett, and Lucius has been in his room, so she. Yeah, you know. And so she calls out. She says, and just as ever, Ellie, what in the hell is going on around here?
Well, Miss Alice, we found a new biology project for you. It's a human bear.
Do what now?
It is a priest that turned into a bear, which we are now going to track at the stream.
You mean like he put on a bear costume? Like what?
No, Miss Alice, I don't think we'd all have our guns drawn if a man was just running around in a bear costume.
I don't know about you.
Oh, please tell me your motto is not "I crave violence."
What? And okay, a priest. Wait, who?
The priest here in town.
The big fella?
Yeah, did you not hear him scream as if he'd just been murdered? We came out here, he had scratches all over him, and then as Lucius was trying to tend to him, he turned into a bear and ran off.
Right in front of me.
Oh, by the way, nobody's seen Willie all morning.
I don't want to know where Willie is.
Yeah, I have ideas about where Alice thinks Willie is.
Just assume that the forest is
Not
being
worried.
pillaged.
It's a very different kind of bear.
I'm sure he's fine.
Alice is gonna say, okay, well, I guess then let's go kill a man bear.
Do I see that she's kind of a little ruffled right now?
Well, you tell me, Miss Alice, how much effort did you put in getting cleaned up before you came out?
I mean, you mean this morning or after the Allie situation?
Both. Like, sort of where are you right now? When she looks at you, do you look flustered? I guess that's the simple question.
She's probably she was just crying.
Okay.
When Baptiste rolled up. So
1970s makeup isn't very good. So
she's probably about a 4 out of 10 right now.
Ellie notices, but she doesn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Is my mic okay? I am. Baptiste will look to Jett and Lucius and say, "Do the two of you know where it is we are going?" And he's sort of almost absent-mindedly handing a ridiculously nice rifle towards Jett if Jett chooses to take it.
Okay, here's my question. Would I know, because I know guns, like, would I know that this rifle is any better than the rifle I currently use? Because that's the only reason I would think to take a rifle from another man.
It is, I think it's fair to say it's special.
Okay.
Is that fair description of it, Ryan? Yeah.
You know what? I'll take it. Why not? I'll just be like, all right.
Yeah, Jett doesn't have enough guns.
Yes.
Yeah, what are we up to
Puts
now?
his
4?
repeating shotgun away and pulls out the rifle. Okay, fine.
Wonder if you could put shotgun in this. Anyway.
No, that's not how that works. That's a good way to blow your guts out again, and she's not going to save you a third time.
You have been warned.
I mean,
so you
fair enough. It's either a like, here you can use this, it might be useful, or you can interpret it as a, I don't need this, carry it for me. It's up to you. But Baptiste
when he hands you
pulls
the
out
backpack and the water jug, you know you've made up your mind.
But he pulls out the 2 revolvers, but he's standing in a way that is, he's ready to go, but he's not taking point.
Sure. So
I transform my shovel into a scythe and I'm like, shall we?
Yeah. And with
right.
Yeah, he now looks more like, well, I mean, you've seen pictures. This fella looks an awful lot like the Grim Reaper in all those books the brothers made you study as a younger man.
Oh, let me change that, shall we?
And with that, you guys make your way off into the trees, which seems like the perfect time to take a little break. And once again, Baptiste manages to avoid dumping any information at all.
Hey, I'm ready. I'm ready as soon as the story allows.
Ooh, man, I tell you, you see some things like that, you either go crazy or you get real awesome, you know? So, like, I hope these guys don't go crazy, but instead of real awesome like I did. Anyways, we're going to go on a little.
There's 5 of them. One of them will make
It's
it.
overwhelming. Well, let's see if we can get to it then, partners. All right, we're back. Welcome back, guys. I don't get scared off it, but the look on Kevin's face is like a man finna do something horrendous. Let's get to it.
Oh, stay low, Marty. Just that's all I can say. Stay low. We're going to a fight, but fights can wait. There's quite a walk ahead of the 5 of you as you fairly carefully, because this is, after all, a wounded bear you're following, head into this relatively dense forest just to the north of town. And within, I almost said meters because I'm Canadian, within yards, you turn around and look back and you can almost not see the town. Like, it's forest primeval just immediately. And all the ground here rises because it's all going up to this mountain made entirely of ghost rock that is still on fire, rising above you as you make your way along the side of the lake. The trail is fairly easy to follow. I mean, somebody's got tracking skill, right? I'm not going to make you roll. I just need to know somebody's got it because it's not hard to follow. Yeah. I remember you guys chasing wolves in circles, but you've gotten much better since then.
Chasing
this
wolves
is following bleeding bear footprints up the soft dirt beside a river or a lake. It's not difficult. But you guys do follow along with some trepidation because there's blind corners and places that a bear could hide. And you're still not exactly sure what the hell's going on with this bear at all. As you do this, you do have a considerable amount of time to yourselves, probably an hour or so.
Oh, are we doing this?
So there's a brief uncomfortable silence. Even the birds go like, oh, shit.
Yeah, right.
Even the moose that saw Willie and Anastasia is going, oh, I'm out of here. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So what's the formation? Because Baptiste said he wasn't taking the lead.
It would probably be me and Sky at the front.
And
Most
then
likely.
Ellie
Who is the
trying
Sky
to...
of which you speak?
I mean, Jett.
The cowboy that doesn't care up at the front, like, yeah, okay, whatever. This is a nice rifle. Yeah.
Yeah.
What does this rifle have a name on it?
Yes. I will
Got so
tell
many,
you.
it has to be a second.
I want
Has to
one
check
of
his
them
list.
to be
There's
like
a list, yeah.
really just a regular name. It's like
Tom.
Mercy Redemption.
Justice.
Oh, now I will handle that.
Oh yeah, there it is.
You were hoping for Daryl, weren't you? You were-
Daryl.
I was thinking
This is
Joe.
my
Daryl.
rifle, Daryl. This is my other rifle, Daryl.
You should have a double
somebody got
barrel
that joke.
shotgun.
Sky.
That is actually a multi-directional joke because there's also a
Team
Daryl
Girl.
and Daryl in Mercs of Mischief as well.
Yep.
So yes, this is an 80s reference joke and a Mercs of Mischief joke. It's
All right,
a
well, I
triple
think we've
entendre.
metagame referenced long enough to not have to do any backstory. So.
You passed a sign that says backstories only beyond this point.
Yeah.
Damn
right.
it!
So in the silence, all right, we're gonna get into this. In the silence, pointed silence, I suppose,
Yeah.
surrounded by and Willie's not around, so anybody that's watching can see Baptiste sort of takes the handkerchief out of the vest pocket and unfolds it and takes the badge and is holding it and puts the badge back in his pocket and hands the... He doesn't make eye contact with Alice. Take that as you will.
Mhm.
Sort of hands the handkerchief back towards Alice. Does she take it?
She will.
And when you go to take it, he grabs your hand. Like not
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
and then lets it go. And just loud enough for the four of everybody else to hear. Says, I suppose by this point, perhaps I owe a bit of clarification to the rest of y'all.
Well, I should say this: if you look at Alice,
He doesn't.
if anybody looks at Alice, she has donned a long black veil.
And drama queen.
Damn right.
You've seen Mondays or Sundays, right?
I'll look just over like
Yeah, you've seen that. I mean, you kind of make a living when there are black veils around.
we sold those too at the gift shop.
And they're way overpriced for people that forgot their own.
Oh yeah, this thing is worth probably like $400.
Actually, sure, Baptiste will look back kind of towards Miss Alice, and he doesn't really register the veil.
Who
And will
died?
say,
Fair question.
I suppose there's the question of my former acquaintances, who I was and who I am, and the badge itself. Those
I
are
definitely
three
flinch at the badge.
interconnected stories. Miss Alice, which one would you prefer to hear first?
Well, I suppose the one that I experience over and over and over again. The reason I wear this veil now, I now know that wherever you go, not far behind is a line of mothers and widows wearing long black veils. and she jerks and puts her hand in the spot where Wyatt was shot as she starts to relive it again.
Exactly what she just experienced. You were there. You saw it happen to him.
Yep. That Well, when I was a toddler, I was told that shortly after I learned how to walk, we were all at church. And I had picked a bunch of flowers and brought them up to some people. And a bunch of the other parishioners, they laughed and they said, "Oh, Baptiste, bring me a flower." And I would screw my face up and scream, "No," at them, petulant like a toddler is allowed to get away with. 3 weeks in a row, I brought flowers to the widow Rainwright and Llewellyn Palmer and Aaron something or other, McMaster's boy. Everybody would laugh and they would ask me for flowers. Those are the only 3 that I brought them to. By the end of the month, Widow Rainwright had passed away. Miss Palmer was thrown from the back of a horse and cracked her skull on a rock, and Aaron Rainwright was shot in the back of the head during a card game over a matter of $18. Nobody asked me for flowers anymore. I would go hunting and I knew which way the rabbit would start. I could fire a bullet the direction the deer would run, not run away from. I knew where the quail was hiding. When a friend's grandparents were dying, I told him to go home. When someone was about to miscarry, I went into the priesthood trying to make a deal to stop knowing such things. It didn't work. After I was ordained, the first thing I did was baptize a small child, Matthew Davis, perhaps, Davidson, Davies. Within a year, I buried him. I thought perhaps my gift, that's what I used to think of it as, was better use. I knew the war was coming. I could feel it. The same way I knew when someone was about to die. It was the smell. It was a itch in my fingers and up my spine. You know, I used to preach that we were all equal. Men and women, different, suited to different tasks around the home perhaps, but equal. I gave a sermon once. I asked my parishioners what color they thought the clay was God made us from. They didn't like that one. Damn near burned the parish house down. I knew that there was a death coming to this country. "1831 is when the war broke out.
1832, I was at Shiloh as a chaplain. I was at Sharpsburg. Later that year, the Yankees call Antietam. Thousands of young men dead. I assumed that if God had given me this gift, I would make him pay for it. I would send so many souls to his side that he would come down himself and apologize and take this from me. I enlisted. I saw 20 battles. My first was at Vicksburg. My 7th was Gettysburg. And my last one, Miss Alice, I had heard where Sherman was going, and I rode for 2 days back home with no sleep. I got to Atlanta just in time to watch her burn to the ground. The day after, I walked out onto that field between the two lines. The crossfire. No uniform. My gun in my hand. I had some captain had tried to stop me. Some poor fool of a man. Captain William Compton. Bill Compton. I heard something bad happened to him later. I slugged him and I took his gun. I walked and I fired. When my gun was empty, I'd drop it and I'd bend down and pick up a new one. I didn't care if it was a Union soldier or a good Confederate boy. Truth be told, the uniforms looked the same, stained with blood and mud and shit and piss of the dying. By the time I made my way across the field, those Union boys, they'd stopped shooting. Bill Compton came up behind me and hit me with a log. I woke up. They had tied me to a magnolia tree. He summarily discharged me from the forces of the Confederate Army. Behavior unbecoming of a gentleman and a soldier. Those Union boys gave me 50 lashings. They tied me to a donkey. It was apparently sometime between Gettysburg and Atlanta I earned my nickname. I've always hated it. Apparently my name was on a horse because it made it to St. Louis before I did. I met James and Martha. James Hickok, Bill. And Martha Canary will let Jane hear you call you Martha. Wild Bill and Calamity, they took a liking to me. They taught me how to draw fast. We spent years together. We made a lot of money. Hunting down bounties all over the territories.
Going to parties with women in beautiful blue dresses.
And funny stories with pigs and sheep. I met James, Jesse, and Frank, the James brothers. William Cody, Miss Oakley.
Frank Bullock up in South Dakota at Deadwood. But I believe what you're talking about happened years later. I parted from my friends and I met in Kansas City Morgan and Virgil and the man who had become my very best friend, Wyatt, in Dodge City.
I saw.
Wyatt, he welcomed me into his family. He made his name in Dodge, killing that young boy. He didn't want to, but it was what was right for Dodge. We were all over Kansas. We tried to bring law. He was a peace officer, not a killer. Eventually, he retired and he moved the whole family and asked me to come with him. Arizona to Tombstone. Yes. Miss Alice, or any of the rest of you, what is it that you know? What do you know about the corral? What are the stories you've heard?
I saw it, right?
Yeah, both of you experienced the corral.
Okay.
Quick question / interjection. Would Ellie have been close enough to listen to this? Is this a conversation?
He's not being quiet.
No, yeah, I just wanted to check with her in particular as to whether she would have walked away to deal with her own stuff. But you experienced more gunfights than just Wyatt Earp. And when Miss Alice says, I experienced all of his, you realize that you actually saw more than she did.
Which is crazy because I spent so much time with that thing.
And now I'll back out of here again.
Alice will say, I felt it. I saw it through his eyes. I saw him pass that badge on to you with his dying breath.
Tombstone was... We never understood why Wyatt brought us there. Wyatt wasn't the kind of man that explained himself. We made money, and we had a good couple of years. But there was... Curly Bill Clybourne and his men, the cowboys, they ran that town. They killed the old Marshal, and Virgil, he took up the badge. Virgil had declared that there was to be no guns in the city of Tombstone, and we had heard that Ike, what was his name? Ike Clayton and his brother Bill, and the McClaury brothers, Johnny Ringo, they were all there stockpiling weapons of some kind. We knew it was a trap. We knew that they'd been itching for a fight, but Virgil, and he'd convinced Morgan. He deputized Wyatt, Holiday, and me. You know, in the moments before Frank McClory drew, he drew first. I could smell it. That smell of rotten meat, that tingle up my spine that I had when I knew someone was about to die. He drew first, but I drew faster. You know, the funny thing about the corral, took 30 seconds. And it wasn't even at the corral. It was an empty lot behind it. There was a dozen of those cowboys. By the time we were done, 9 of them were dead. Holiday had been shot. Virgil been shot in the leg, I think, and I was fine. I killed 4. Virgil had killed 1, so did Morgan. Holiday did 2. He always argues that it was 3, but that 3rd one was mine. The rest were Wyatt's. I saw Frank McClory fire at Wyatt from 2 feet away. It barely nicked his shoulder. Now, we worked hard to make sure everyone thought that it was a blood feud after that. It wasn't a month later. Morgan was shot in the back through the window at his own saloon. Wyatt told us that we had to hunt them down, but it wasn't no blood feud. There was something else behind it. We spent 5 years hunting down Claiborne and his cowboys. I don't know how many of them we put in the ground, but after 5 years, we were all holed up at Virgil's place. He had a ranch by then. Miss Alice, what you saw wasn't the OK Corral. It was years later. Just before dawn, we heard the horses outside. Wyatt, myself, Virgil, Doc, Tennessee Jack, and Texas Jim. We went outside, and there was Billy Claiborne, Johnny Ringo, and a dozen other cowboys. They all wore these red sashes, you see. But that wasn't all that it was. In that morning light, we saw 16 other men. 16 men that we had put in the ground over the last 5 years. Their rotten flesh hanging off of their bones. Bullet wounds. Hollow, dead eyes. And there in the front of all of those dead, undead, was Morgan Earp, the red sash of a cowboy. But it wasn't Morgan anymore. We traded lead with those men for 4 hours. In the early morning light, they got on their horses. We chased them down. Eventually, there was only 8 or 9 of them left. In the middle of the street is some town that's forgotten. That's what you saw. Because I was next to him. Wyatt, old by that point. raised his hand at Morgan. The last minute I watched him, he turned his wrist. He fired, but he missed him on purpose. Holiday took a few down. Virgil, he'd lost use of one of his arms. He was laying down a cover fire. Jim died at the ranch, and Jack was dead by the end of the day. I took out what I could, till there was one left. Wyatt, Morgan, and I raised our irons at the same time. Wyatt fired and he missed. Again. I don't know if he meant to. Morgan fired and I watched that bullet rip right through Wyatt's chest, and I put a slug right between Morgan Earp's eyes and killed him a second time. Holiday said that Virgil lost his mind. Virgil thought that I had killed Morgan and allowed Wyatt to die. And as with the dying breath, Wyatt gave me his badge. I knew what it was. He'd asked me to study it for the last 6 or 7 years. Miss Alice, you've taken that badge. So have you, Miss Ellie, I know, and that paper man. But for the three of you, it was like standing outside of someone's house looking through the window. You caught a glimpse. Wyatt gave me the badge. He relinquished it. And I accepted. That badge is a part of me. And I'm a part of it. Holiday said he would spread the story, and he did for 3 more years before he died in a gunfight. Virgil Earp, everyone thinks he lives in Missouri somewhere. He's in a cabin in the Dakotas, locked up tight, screaming my name into damnation and howling at the moon, lost his mind. And my best friend is dead. You saw Wyatt's fights. Miss Ellie, you saw more than that. I saw the blue coat of a Continental soldier firing his musket into a line of red coats the first time I touched it. The second time, I saw brown-clad monks dying at the hands of tall, giant, blonde-haired warriors covered with braids and tattoos of runes. I saw a Knight Templar riding into Constantinople. The badge remembers. I remember. The badge does more than that. Lucius, how much farther is this church?
We can't hear you.
I don't.
And by the way, if you were listening to that, you haven't got a clue.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, what is going on? The whole time.
They don't even know about the badge.
I'm just looking at Jett like, but yeah, it's like I don't think much farther actually.
Salas,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to give you an opportunity to respond.
Alice just she takes a second, kind of lets it all sink in. And she says, "The badge isn't the only thing that remembers." I watched fight after fight. I heard you given rights over and over again. Usually in Latin, sometimes you'd slip up and go into French. But I heard it over and over again. And I heard the extra shots. The shots for the ones who weren't quite gone yet. That you sent on their way. And I also know that the timing, the math don't add up. I don't know what you are. I don't know who you are. What I do know is that you came into paradise right after an attack, a train wreck. You've never said why you are here. You've never given any inkling as to why you stay. You start helping people and making decisions as if you've owned this damn town for your whole life. And yeah, Mr. Comfort saw it. He's one of the only people in this damn town that understand me on any level. So I've gone to him with every bit of information I've had. The first words out of his mouth were that you were dangerous. He's the one that figured out the math. Scrawling on that desk.
Wyatt, the years after Morgan's death, when he had me doing research on the badge, he told me why we went to Tombstone. He found the badge in Kansas 6 months before Dodge City, before we met. The badge drew him to Tombstone. You see, It weren't rifles that the cowboys were stockpiling. It was something else. Wyatt didn't chase him down because of some blood feud. Wyatt chased him down because he knew there was something else. Every time we found their enclaves, there were Ghost Rock. 40 years before the Great Quake, they had Ghost Rock. Strange symbols and strange creatures. I found out what that badge was, and I told Wyatt about it. He never touched it with his bare hands again until he gave it to me. I came to Paradise for the same reason that he took us to Tombstone. It drew him to Tombstone because of the undead. The badge drew me to Paradise because of Baphomet. And I stay because, despite the fact that I would very much like to leave the four of you behind, the badge keeps drawing me back to you, which, truth be told, is probably one of the most dangerous things for all of you. Bill Cody is dead. Jesse and Frank James are dead. Wyatt and Morgan are dead.
And yet here you stand.
Oh, that's the great joke of it all, Miss Alice. As many times as I'd like to have died, it seems I can't. And everyone I've ever loved is dead around me.
Ellie,
When
what the
he
hell's going
gave-
on?
When Wyatt gave me the badge, Miss Alice, I was 1 year sick with consumption. That was 40 years ago. How many 40-year-old people with tuberculosis have you ever met? I have bullet holes and knife wounds and arrow marks that I've healed up as scars that I don't even remember having. This badge is no blessing. It's a curse. It was Wyatt's curse. And now it's mine. And maybe when it's done with me, I'll finally get some rest.
Rest. I knew what that felt like before I came to this town. Or at least I thought I did. But ever since I've been here, seems like nobody gets any rest around here.
I did for one night.
Did they come back, Jett?
Yeah, they did. Different, but I don't think I'm ever going to be rested again.
I don't know that any of us will.
As she says that, Jett, you see behind Lucius in one of the trees is Raven. And she holds up one feather in front of her beak in a very clear shh. She swoops down absolutely silently. Nobody sees her but you. And right above Lucius's top hat, she pulls her wings in, turns into a tiny little person, and cannonballs through the top of his hat. And you can tell he doesn't feel it. The rest of you are standing around in this emotionally charged state. Lucius, you're kind of, again, I don't want to put words in your brain, but probably feeling a little left out. And not in a bad way, like, oh, I'm not sharing these people's pain, how awful for me, but like, it's anyway.
It's just
In the middle of however you're feeling, there's a moment where you flash back to the church, to your plan, to your mistake. And this time, from your point of view, you see them flee from the church, slam the door open, and run off into the night. And you step out behind them and try to explain what happened. And in the real world, this is when you ran. But right now, you turn to speak to them, and standing behind a gravestone is your beloved. In spectral form, clearly dead. And she just looks at you and shakes her head in disappointment. And fades away.
just start crying.
And you turn to run, and you're back with this group in the forest.
Yeah.
And at this point, I would like to stop very briefly to just say that was masterful. I enjoyed every second of that, and thank you guys so much. And whoever dropped that subscription in the middle of that, thank you. That was perfect.
Yay.
Okay. I know it's early, but there's no way I'm going to put a fight after that. So we're going to call it 10 minutes early tonight. And I want to thank every single one of you went above and beyond tonight. I honestly don't know if I have ever been involved in a session like that in my life, and it was a privilege. Thank you all. Yeah, absolutely. There's Oscars all around. Just going to start right beside me here. Ryan, when you're not blowing our fucking minds out of the water, what else do you do? What do you do on your time off?
Oh gosh, my time off, I'm working. I'm a theater professor. I just had an amazing experience getting to direct a version of 12th Night that explore gender non-binary expression. I just took my first forensics and debate team to a tournament, and we won first place in 3 areas, which was absolutely amazing.
Spectacular.
Which was just a blast. And I'm extremely privileged. I get to teach the future leaders, which is so trite and cliche, but that's how I feel about it. And I love what I get to
they
do.
are, as far as I can tell, they are in fairly capable hands, particularly if you're teaching them rhetoric. Wow.
Indeed.
What a show. Thank you very much. I believe you also just put out a video this week, a seasonally appropriate one even.
Oh gosh, yeah, you would think I would remember we do that too. Yeah, Dawn just dropped an awesome gift guide for your geek friends for 2019, and that was so much fun. We've been really pushing some new approach to our content with Roll for Initiative, YouTube Roll for Initiative, and R for I Vlog. It's been a lot of fun and been some really good conversations. So please give us a follow at YouTube Roll for Initiative.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you so much. And again, amazing. I see you down there gathering yourself. I'll give you a second, hon. We're just going to work our way across the top. Hannah playing Miss Ellie. So have you ever had a backstory get wrapped up in 2 episodes? Not really
nope.
wrapped up. Well, kind of wrapped up, but really not
Kinda
really even
shoved
started.
at
But
you?
sorry,
Kind of slapped with it in 2 episodes. Is that inappropriate?
I'll take that. I'll
Can we
take that.
try?
Yeah.
No.
No, yeah.
No.
Well, okay. Yeah, I thank you again. That was an amazing scene. Everybody keeps dropping these on you and you keep responding like a champ. I'm really impressed. Down at the far end, the man in the hat. Kind of a quiet night tonight, so I couldn't help it. I had to get you at the end. Lucius,
Couple more jabs, right?
Stab him right in the heart.
And yes, you have actually. I forgot to tell you. You have another. What did I say? Another 10 hours of tinkering that you can futz about with
Something
Oh,
like that.
another 10?
because of the day off sort of thing. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I'm trying to get you caught up. You gave me a humongous list of stuff you want to do, so I want to get at least some of it done.
Oh. I've
Tinker
been
boy.
hoping.
Tinker boy, he's locked in his room. Tinker.
Oh, I have such things to show you.
Miss Alice, Sarah,
Yeah.
the lady in the veil.
Yep. I've had this thing for a
First
month.
very first question, did that go anything like you thought it was going to?
Yes and no. That's the best
and
I
then
got.
Baptiste shoots her.
Yep, there it is.
Very-
It went closer to how I thought it would. Did not go how Alice thought it would.
Oh, okay.
So
I like that.
so yes and
I
no.
like that distinction. Perfect. And I know you're getting closer and closer to getting restarted on your nerd narrative
Yeah.
stuff again. Closer
Getting
and closer
closer.
by the week.
I'm considering I might change my channel name to Gilbetta Gaming. I don't know.
Nice. Yeah. I just did the thing where I accidentally changed the name of my Twitch channel and now I can't change it for 60 days.
Yeah.
So I'm stuck with that. So now, see,
Big
this
thing.
is my excuse. Now I can't go viral for 60 days because I want
Yep.
to change the name.
Yep. You gotta wait.
And in the bottom corner, the man who forgot and fell asleep. You were kind of front loaded tonight. We kind of did you at the start and then you just sort of walked around in a haze for the rest of the night. How was that first bit?
The first bit was amazing. I mean, it was really neat to have that sequence again, although it feels shifted into something different now. And I still don't know if I should be afraid, but I kind of feel like I should.
Willie thinks you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, Willie is Willie is afeared.
I'm concerned.
Run, boy, run.
I concur.
Oh god.
Chad also thinks
Oh,
you should
there's
be
Willie.
afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow, guys. Thank you all again. And I know I joked about not getting to the actual encounter tonight, but guess what? We didn't.
We like to talk.
We're a
I've
very
got
talkative group.
I've got the fight map all set up over here, and
Alright,
I've got the
chatting.
stat block all over here. And
Stop teasing us.
Just dust on
Alright.
everything.
It's all right.
We'll just mime the first 5 minutes of next week, and we'll get into the fight, and we'll all be good.
Yep.
For anybody who I know you haven't checked, and it's killing me that you guys don't care what happened to Willie. I guess you just assume that Anastasia.
Yeah.
Look,
Alice,
I got
Alice,
porn.
I think we all really know. I mean, Rule 34, it's a rule. Get on it, artist fans.
Oh yes, and everybody that watched tonight on Twitch, I hope there's still like 20 of you out there. I hope you enjoyed that, and if you did, we do this maybe not quite this intensely, but pretty damn close. Pretty much every week here on Tuesdays. Sundays and Mondays we're playing D&D with our amazing benevolent dungeon master Puck, who was playing Willie with us earlier on this one. So Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, all 3 nights, role-playing games like you do not see them played anywhere else. I think I can safely say that. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mercs of Mischief and associated groupings. Until next week, shoot you next time. Good night.
Get over yourselves and pray and kneel down. Would you die with a smile or live with a frown? For Brother McAllister knows that life with a cleric may often blow the wind from your sails of sin and delight. But it's better than being a zombie or white. A cleric of power is great in a fight, though life with a cleric may certainly bite, like winter's deep chill on a frost-laden night.